thermal imaging. So this is the real deal. So this is a FLIR camera. This might be something you're familiar with. So this is what firemen would use to actually help save people. It's just a small piece they can attach to their phone. So you can actually use it around the home. I know I have. I just said, I'm going to get the ghost hunting toolkit. And she's like, what the hell's wrong? I'm like, the dryer's broke. And now I got to figure out where the hell the leak is. So why are we using this?
Temperature changes.
How so?
Well, ghosts use up energy from what I understand. So,
but what temperature are we looking for? Hot or cold? Cold. So we're looking for cold spots. That old adage that ghosts create cold spots is a legitimate thing. So with this, obviously you should be able to see me, red, orange, and yellow guy. Yep. But we're going to be looking for blue and black. So I usually make that joke that I'm the hottest thing inside the frame. Usually don't do it when it's just a single couple because I'm afraid the husband's going to kick my ass later. But the point is, I'm looking for the blue and black to either take shape or to start moving on its own. When I say take shape, I want a head, shoulders, moving arms, and legs. So it should be in the shape of blue or black and walking towards us, and there shouldn't be any heat signature whatsoever as far as actually being warm. Now it is, we'll just say an average of 50 degrees out here. I think it was 49, but that means I'm going to be looking for 35 degrees and colder because I normally look for 15 plus degree temperature drops with any kind of anomaly. So that's usually the criteria that I use. I also set this up to where there's a blue dot on there. Do you guys see that bouncing around? So
right in 74 degrees.
Nope, that should be the center. The blue dot is off to the right.
Oh, the little square.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me move it over so it finds something colder. But basically, that is searching for the coldest spot in the frame at that moment. That's why it moves. So in the event that we don't have a full body apparition of a head, shoulders, arms, and legs, then I watch for the blue dot as well. So when I'm scanning for this, I actually watch it in double time. So my eyes just been trained after doing this for so many years to actually look for that 35 degrees or colder. That's why I keep track of the temperature ambient for us. So if I do find something and I can't see that it's a can on the ground or something like that, like in the frame, I'll obviously give you the screenshots and give you the marker of where I found it. So I'm pretty detailed in your report getting back to you. So with this one, let that run until I basically, here's how this actually normally works for me. So I'm going to give you the history. That's going to last usually between 4 to 6 minutes. We're going to explore the space. Obviously, we're not going to film the cars around us. And then I will regroup us after kind of looking at the notes and maybe pissing off a ghost because I'm here every damn night and saying, okay, let's kind of regroup and see what we got. And then I'll give you all of the answers to the questions because remember, I'm not going to give you all of the things that I know about every space.
Right.
So, welcome to a parking lot. Another one. This place used to be something though. This used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. So other ghost tours won't come here because there is nothing to see, obviously. So here's the layout of the land. The mansion actually stood in the front of the space facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So that's the layout of the lane. Who the hell were these people? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Chucks, in case you weren't paying attention. That's why we look for secondary clues. I need to know which one's coming through in the event you get the name Charles. So, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. What the hell is that blue thing that was just in the center of the screen? Move to the right just a hair. Just make this around. So we're right there to the left of your center crosshairs.
Oh, that thing?
Like it's
It's
the only thing that's really moving.
It's kind of coming in and out.
Yeah. If you don't mind, try to keep that there.
Yeah.
I'm going through the history, so I
Okay.
can analyze it there. Maybe get a figure out of it. If something's trying to manifest. It's not picking up our shadows because we haven't been here for very long. It's just weird because it is around that manhole cover. And I'm verbalizing it in case I actually decide to watch this with audio. So it might just be the cement pad.
Wait, isn't this the manhole right here, the red part?
Because that's metal, and the cement around it is going to be much cooler than the metal.
Yep. Prophecy?
Yeah, I'll be definitely interested to see if that blue dot moves over into that area. I don't think it will at this point, but it just caught my eye.
Free.
We are standing in the servant slave quarters, so it's vague. But
So, I just moved a little bit, but then that
I
blue
need
stuff
you.
just... Well, it's coming back now.
6.
sorry, I like numbers. I always write down numbers. I'm thinking we
Stop.
just have the cement pad.
.com.
It's just weird that part is the only one that's wavering in and out. Your hand is pretty steady.
Bye, bye, bye. Positivity.
Yeah, I get more towards the
More.
manhole. It gets really red.
Put you on mute.
Okay.
I'm gonna put you on mute so I can go through the history with you guys.
Okay.
Obviously, keep the recording going, however you want to steer it at. But the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina.
Oh.
That's the reason why we're here. However, I hate politics, and we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Eliza instead. Eliza marries Charles at a young age according to today's standards. I say it like that because if you're going to ask her, don't expect numbers like 12 and 14 when women from the colonial days actually got married. Think of today's standards instead because the husband was over double her age. So it's kind of a creepy age gap then and now. Just like to give you a little bit of clue so you're not like, oh, 15, you know, no. A little bit older than that. But she marries him because her father's over in England. He thinks he's dying. He's trying to bring all his children home one last time. Eliza doesn't believe he's dying. Instead, she stays put and gets married. It's 1744. You don't get married in that year to get a green card. We're not a country yet. So she did marry Charles out of love. This is a true love story. So again, this isn't the horrific style of tale you would normally hear from a paranormal TV show. But anyway, I did get a 3.2 just now. But anyway, back to Eliza. She married him, and she was correct. Dad didn't die right away. Instead, he starts sending her gifts from England to where we're standing. One of those gifts happens to be the plant seeds of indigo. That's a plant that makes blue dye that makes your blue jeans blue. That's how we use it today. However, when Eliza got her seeds, she didn't know what to do with them. She had to learn from her servants and slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not always warm here. You saw that yesterday. So when she learned how to keep it going, she learned how to make the dye, moved to a cash crop, then got a hold of Dad and told him that the rice plantations were going downhill, and now we have an international businesswoman during colonial days. They made their fortune off of their indigo. So, here's what goes on here. We're actually going to focus on basically one set of questions for you because obviously I want to see where the things kind of land between two different devices. Also keep in mind that even though you might be focusing on a set of questions or asking a set of questions, the answer can go to his audio from his camera, my audio voice recorder, or on the work generator listed up that I'm using. So normally if I have my full teams of 10 out here, there's at least 4 to 6 spirit boxes out. No matter who's asking the question, because everybody gets a different set, the answers can go anywhere. That's what I love about doing this. So we're going to focus on Eliza's death. You got something else?
No, it's just that manhole area
Yeah.
is like super red now. Like that.
Because you put something else in perspective of the camera, so move it back. There you go. Now it's pulsing again. It's still weird. That just that right hand side of it is what's pulsing.
Mm-hmm.
And you got some lines going on in there. That's what
What's that mean?
Could be anything. There's obviously a difference in temperature that's moving through things. You know, your hand isn't always going to be super steady. If I was on a tripod and we were having that, I would probably be more excited. But your hand is wavering just a little bit, even though you can't see it.
Yep.
But lines going through something like that, something's going on there. I just don't know what yet.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the blue dot to kind of land there and give me a temperature.
You're talking this one that's bouncing around.
Right. So
Okay.
it's basically bouncing around over there because it's on the glass of that SUV over there.
Okay.
Glass is always going to be colder than cement and gravel and everything else around it.
It's not as much insulation. Yep.
So, you're going to focus on Eliza's death. 4 major questions that we get the answers to here. How old she was when she died. What she died from. Where she's buried. Which president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So those are 4 majors.
Of marriage.
Age of death.
Oh, death. Sorry. Age of death. How she died. Which president was a pallbearer at her funeral.
And location.
And
So just think of it as kind of like your journalist question. So when, age, where, location for burial, how, and whom. So we got it. So those are the easiest ways to look at it. Just might be careful with those people getting in their vehicle over there. So I've had a 3.2 so far, and I just got a 6.2. So EMF, like I said, measures electricity. There's no electricity in this lot. I've measured the whole thing thoroughly, daytime, nighttime. We do have an electrical pole nearby, but I don't have another one to kind of signal like it's going to basically ping off of each other and cause any vortexes around, you know, the lot. The average spike in this location is between 18 to 22 milliamps. That's really high considering your TV gives off about 40. The highest I've ever seen this device go has been here at 214 milliamps. Been
Where
doing
we're
this
standing?
in this lot.
In a lot in general. Okay.
And it's always in a different location. It's not like I can walk to a certain piece of gravel and say, this is where I'm going to get my 18, this is where I'm going to get my 100. It's different every night. That's why I like to do at least 1 or 2 basically laps around the space and kind of see what we got going on. You're just going to shout out whatever you hear, honestly. So, I mean, we've already put the questions out there. You can continue to ask them out loud if you want to. You can just focus on them. But Eliza already knows we're here. And I'll be honest, every night before I meet with you guys on that corner, I cut through here to let Eliza know who I'm bringing and what your names are. So even if I have a full group of 10, I still read off all their names. It's just out of respect, so that way she knows, like, hey, we're going to come peacefully, we're going to do 1 or 2 laps, and we'll be out of your hair. So just kind of give us whatever you can give us, and we'll take it from there. So again, as long as we show respect here, we should get some answers. I haven't looked at the word list in a minute. We got 10 words already. The name Norman mean anything to you guys? Norman? No? It's not a common name that I see all the time. So, interesting. So I don't have anything here yet that screams that we got any kind of activity coming towards me, but let's take 1 or 2 laps and kind of see what we got going on. We're going to stay away from the family, get into the vehicle, and obviously where that curve is left is the only entrance and exit to the space. So where do you guys want to go? Which corner?
All right, well, I would say that way.
Okay. Follow your lead. I got to write down these numbers. 32, 34, 62. We get looked at all the time as the weirdos, which is perfectly fine.
I'm used to being weirdo.
So now that I know that you're hearing things, I'm not going to write down everything that you say. Now that I know that
Porch.
Okay.
Sometime.
23.3. 15.6.
Yeah.
You ever used one of these before, Brian?
No.
January.
We are in January.
John Hughes.
She said the name Jack too, didn't she?
Saturday, February.
Yes.
Everything.
Jack, yes.
Dream.
What's going on over there? Sorry, there's not usually a whole lot of drama over here, guys.
Too much alcohol.
Apparently. Hopefully that growling guy that caught up to them.
That line thing that you were talking about before seems to always be on this side.
Okay.
1200.
Is there too much drama here for you tonight?
Fire. One rebound. Thousand. One.
Liza, I want you to
Pretty
focus
discouraging.
any of the terms of the questions from relative to your death. You know which questions we ask. Keep things nice, light, and simple tonight. We'll be out of your hair. We're going to need a couple more terms. I should have verified.
Turn on.
I put your license? I put my license plate number. That was my part. Okay. Thanks.
HBO Max.
Get the word touchdown. Big reference to Big John. If we had something else that's relevant, still close enough to him. Where
It's interesting how it like is like super red in some spots, but then nothing. It just like drops off temperature wise to like a green.
$50. Jackson Hall.
yeah, that woman in that car falls in that classification.
Here's a
Karen. I'm like, I'm not gonna get caught filming her. That'll be the last
Selfish.
thing we need. That'll be a TikTok video later on. Watch my thermal imaging video of this Karen. Eliza, it's getting less crowded.
165.
If you're not Eliza, you need to give us your name so I know which family member is here.
23.
23.
And she said January and February so far.
Seriously? No, I'm not going into work today. I'm in the wrong state.
Candidate.
Candidate. Okay.
Well,
President.
there was Charles.
4-5.
His son was a presidential candidate. I want to say like 4 times.
Oh, wow.
4 or 5 is relevant.
Still not getting any body images.
And you might not all night long. I mean, I might get 5 solid pieces a year where I'm like, that's
Okay.
definitely a ghost. So that's definitely spirit activity. So, but if we're not recording, I'm gonna.
I was going to ask you back there, why body images still? Is it just their memory that, okay, this is what I was like in physical form, now this is what I'm going to be like in spirit form?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay. That's kind
That's part of the reason why I love the research. It's because the more data that I can collect and actually get different perspectives from different people, because I get weird questions like that all the time.
Okay.
So it could be like when I pass away and I'm
Short
100 years
attention
old,
span.
I don't want to look like I'm 100 years old. So
Yeah.
am I going to go back to this self when I
Look
was
to your
probably at my
best
happy
self.
Right.
Yep.
So I don't know those answers.
Yeah, because I think I heard that from like the Robin Williams movie or something like that. I've heard from
19.
some movie or
That
show
dreams
I've
may
seen
come.
that it's like you can think of like your own shape or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you want to look like.
And
Kind
it's
of
it's
thing.
a happy thought. It really is.
Yeah. But whether or not it's true, who knows?
Exactly. Which I think the movie you're thinking of is What Dreams May Come.
Yeah.
And Cuba Gooding Jr. was one of was it a colleague of his, but wasn't really a black guy, and his daughter turned into like the airline hostess. That
I never really watched the entire
Amy?
movie, so I don't know. But I know Cuba Jr.'s in it, and I know Robin Williams is
Yeah,
in it,
it's a
and
good
I
movie.
know like a premise of it.
good
I
movie.
think his wife does suicide or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, he's got to go down and get her. And
5, 6, 7, 8.
Eliza, we're going to call it. Can you tell us good night?
Soft.
Eliza, can you say good night back to us? I'm going to give them all the answers, and we'll get out of your hair.
Washington businesses.
So we did get quite a few emails. If you can hit that stop button and give your hands a break. It's going to come through here just so you have an idea. They're going to come out of the ivy wall because there's a little stairwell right there. or they're going to come in the way we came in. So
Okay.
just kind of keep an eye out for them. I don't expect a whole lot of EMF out of here. We do have lampposts nearby, so normally it's a once in a while, so I won't pull out the EMF meter while we're here because I would expect above an 8, just because those lampposts can give off up to a 7. So kind of keep that in mind. So let's kind of cover the history of why we're here. This used to be called Dueler's Alley because this is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. So I say some because dueling was illegal in the 1700s, so they had to find hiding spots. This happened to be one of those hiding spots. So here's how this story goes. Every tour comes down here, by the way. This is exactly why I wanted to take it out, because it's a very big cliche. And again, I still get a shit ton of evidence from this guy, so we're going to move on. A doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. In the event, because I know you're not listening right now, you're trying to focus on me, that the song Brown Eyed Girl comes on during the time frame of us coming to this location or even to the next one, it's not uncommon because it's part of his name. We get it here all the time. Now, he moves down here from Rhode Island because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She's an attorney, helping her out with all the cash flow. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda to get rid of him. So he comes down here to Charleston, and on his way into town, the coachman he had set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a good start. Somebody was walking by and seeing what was about to happen. He's somewhat of a local, he's lived here for a few years, and he knows the coachman. That guy's name is Ralph Isaacs, the guy who stopped the doctor. I stop on Ralph simply because he has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. Now, I was getting the letters RI randomly on spirit boxes, so I bought a new device specifically for this location. It basically acts like a Ouija board, but it's digital. So it works off of EMF, like the little device in my pocket. Anytime there's a spike, it stops the cursor over the alphabet and gives us that specific letter. I wanted to see if we were going to get the letters RI. I've had that device for about a year, and I can probably count about 6-7 times that we've actually gotten the RI whenever I brought up Ralph's name. So I'd just like to point that out. But anyway, back to Ralph. He tells the doctor, dude, I know this guy. He's going to try to kill you. Come with me. I got friends at 59 Church Street. You can rent a room from them, and you'll be safe. Doc took him up on the offer. The two gents became friends. The longer the doctor stays here in Charleston, the more money he's making. It's proving his point. It's not after Amanda's money. She gets wind of this, and she's going to move down herself, so that way they could be married. Dr. Ladd then became known as the Whistling Doctor, because he whistled all the time. He's a happy guy. His fiance's coming down. That's part of the reason why I was going to take this out, because every haunted city you will ever visit is going to have a cliched whistling ghost. We all have one. Ours just happens to be a doctor. We're going to get to the doctor's whistles in just a minute. Dr. Ladd and Ralph go see plays together. They cannot sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's the hierarchy of Charleston. He gets better seats. So, on the way home, after seeing Richard III, they're arguing over the actress. The doctor thought she was great. Ralph didn't. Ralph then starts insulting the doctor's fiancée during the argument. Yeah, it got really ugly really fast. So, they part ways, and they're pretty pissed off at each other. But I told you Ralph has friends around town. He goes to the newspaper and tells them to put an ad in the paper for him, telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a, you're a disgrace to society kind of mentality. Doc saw the ad, but rebutted with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this shit, and somebody's going to die. So they came down, they took their 10 paces, they turned, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage to show up. But Ralph has his one bullet. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. Doc fell to the ground. His friends picked him up, took him home to 59 Church Street. He dies 10 days later, November 2nd, 1786, after refusing medical treatment. I point out two things. First off, it's 1786. Gunshot wounds are a lot different back then than what we know of them now. Secondly, he's a doctor. He probably just thought he had lead poisoning and tried to bleed it out himself, but obviously he failed. Every ghost tour tells you to listen for the whistles while you're down here. It sounds just like this on a busy Saturday afternoon in July, down in this alley. It's always this quiet, except for that air conditioner or furnace running over there. You guys are getting my point. Luckily for us, we have a video camera with audio, plus my voice recorder. If we're going to get an actual whistle, it's going to come on one of those two devices. Secondly, your spirit boxes, I can't tell you how many times I've had whistling parts of songs and then the word doctor come up from a commercial immediately after. Doctor, I get it all the time. So dozens upon dozens of times. So kind of take that for what it's worth. So if you're going to try this on your own, and you're going to walk all the way through here without me, while you're here on vacation and using the voice recorders from your phone, and you get something in the background, keep in mind all the locals know the damn story. So anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street or Queen Street, we all throw a whistle down the alley every single time we pass it. I do it every single time since I've been thrown out of here. Let me tell you about that, because that's the fun part of the story. This alley, the way we came in, it wasn't always open that way. There was a wall up there, about halfway between us and Cumberland Street. The reason why is because this is where they kept the livestock for the city of Charleston. They had to keep them blocked in. This used to be called Cow Alley. This is before Dueler's Alley. So, what that means for you is that the bricks on the other side of the alley are older than where we're standing. Those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children. I used to take my groups all the way through for a history lesson, nothing paranormal. Simply because that brick with the kid's handprint in that brick, and again, we have a full handprint from a child and fingerprint swipes in others. They all want to kind of stare at the brick and see what's going to happen. I treat it just like a grave. The kid's not there. That's the last place you're going to find him. He's probably hanging out with his mama somewhere. However, November 26th, 2020, my entire group of 10 wants to huddle around that brick and wait for something to happen with the gear that I handed out. I know nothing's going to happen. Secondly, we're also outside the dining room window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. I'm just trying to be respectful, not realizing I was out of bounds for tours. I was still new at this. So the new owner of that mansion came out. He was screaming. My daughter thought it was great because she was on the tour that night and her dad's getting yelled at. She thought it was hysterical. So she thought it was fantastic, by the way. I never get to the end of it. Secondly, we moved on. So we moved on, and the next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour on Thanksgiving because before I did this, I was in upper management for Walmart for 10, 15 years. I can't remember how many years I was there because I try to forget that part of my life. And you guys like to fight over towels on Thanksgiving, which means I am scarred for life on Thanksgiving. So you guys get my point. I was upper management. I have to watch all that shit and break it apart. So I don't tour on Thanksgiving ever. The next day was the 28th. I called my partner that I had at the time. I told him what happened, trying to figure out like what to do next. He laughed at me too because he knew that I wasn't allowed to go down there. So he says, "You're only allowed to go down halfway, dude. You're gonna have to reroute your group." It's Black Friday. I'm sold out again. I gotta figure out something quick. So what I told my group that night was, I don't believe in the next story because I've never had anything happen over there. Secondly, I'm a vampire dude, not a pirate guy. So obviously discussing pirates next. So before we left, somebody with a spirit box heard the name Anne. I didn't tell them which pirate we're going to be investigating. The female pirate, Anne Bonny. So I was like, oh shit, maybe we're going to get something. We go up and around the corner. Somebody else heard the number 300. I don't know what that one is. I wrote it down. I do the research for them while I'm doing their data. It turns out we are there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. The exact 300th year anniversary of her pirate trial. So I was like, well, damn it. Here's the reason why. I have a master's degree in creative writing. We already talked about this. So even when I'm writing fiction, I like facts and data to be able to base things off of. When I'm doing this, I have to have facts and data. Pirate stories come from pirate lore, which was written 100 years after the golden age of piracy. That's a problem for me, because that means I have to read more books on piracy, trying to figure out what's what and who's telling the truth. Where we're going, and I'm going to give you the history over there of Anne Bonny, everything I tell you comes from a minimum of 2 resources. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's a 50-50 shot if she'll be there at the same time we are, but as with all ghosts, they're not on the payroll. I cannot make things happen. So if she's there, great, we will stay longer, but if she's not, we will kind of see what's going on, wrap it up, and I'll tell you about our last stop after that. So, anything crazy on the cam that I needed to know about? Let me check the word list. Keep in mind when we go over to that next location, we might have things, and I do have the word competition while we've been here, so we get that quite a bit, the word compete, competitor, competition, and that comes up in various formats between all different types of things. So that's really the only thing, just like the other one I said with the island. Again, I want something else to go along with competition, like I want pistol, dueling, gun, something to go along with that. What the hell? I'm like, what is all of that? That's the rooftop bar that I'm seeing in the distance.
Oh.
You don't normally see it from this angle, yeah. Just weird. Because that whole, where we were just walking, is going to be a hotel next year. They're ripping all that down except for that building. Looks like they're going to build on top of it and kind of go around it because it is like a historical building. It's really weird. Like that whole block's going to be a hotel. The gate, before we leave, I always like to point this thing out, and this is part of the reason why I like to stop here. The gate, remember I told you that the alley didn't go all the way through the way we came in? Mm-hmm. If there was a loser to the duel down here, this was the shortcut to get to the cemetery on the other side of this wall. Otherwise, they got to take their dead weight, the loser, all the way down to Queen Street and then double back to get up to the cemetery. The wrought iron was probably put there in the early 1900s, but you could see that the archway is definitely part of the original wall. So I just like to kind of point those things out. There's another rumor that Andrew Jackson actually had a duel down here. I don't know how true that will actually be. I can't find any evidence. I even called our dueling expert here in Charleston. He's got nothing of Andrew Jackson having a duel down here, but things with presidents usually get hidden and shoved underneath the rug pretty quickly. And it's also a rumor of why we have so much foliage on either side is because it's actually hiding some of the bullet holes from some of the previous duels. So it is an interesting piece, and you would think if they're trying to hide bullet holes that the ivy and foliage would actually come up higher. But again, a lot of this is folklore. I have no proof of it whatsoever. So we're going to go up and around the corner. We're going to go out the way we came in. You can stop your video until we can get up around the corner. I always love the shots of Philadelphia Alley because it's a straight shot and we don't really go anywhere. So, and we'll stay out the other tour's way if we get any.
So I'm going to think of questions.
Have at it. Look at that, I got the word judge. Told you, I can't make this shit up. I wish I could. I got the word soldier too. This thing held gunpowder for 7 different wars, so sometimes we get something relevant to that. Again, thanks.
Okay.
It's almost a curse to know as much history about this place as I do. I hate to brag, but sometimes it's like, God damn it, just give me one ghost at a time.
7-3, Chris.
See if I can get any EMF out of this location. Most of the time it's flat zeros.
Okay.
So if we do get something, it is
Something.
something, for sure. So is this what you guys thought you signed up for, by the way?
I like it so far.
Well, I'm not asking for compliments. I was just wondering, like, because some people show up and they're like, I just wanted something cheesy and campy to do.
Honestly, I'm no predetermined thoughts on what this was going to be like.
Fair
Let's just take it as is.
What's your crosshair temperature on there, by the way?
I don't know.
Okay. So this says 59. I'm just wondering if it was high because it was, like, next to me in my pocket. Seems warm because I know the ambient was supposed to be like 51. Come on, Ann.
You're talking this upper right?
No, the one in the center.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It'll measure whatever that dot is landing on. Right now you're landing on the bushes. Now the ground in front of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But normally if the ground says like it's between, I would say 60 to 65 degrees, I'd be like, that's about right because the concrete's going to hang on to the day's sun a little bit longer.
Yeah, the black asphalt. Yeah.
Not guilty. Response.
Told you, more judge stuff.
Hmm.
Gotta love what you do, man. I walked away from 6 figures to do this.
That's good.
It's scary as shit.
If you, yeah, you gotta take that leap sometimes.
Open your eyes.
Yeah, I was in retail management for over 20 years.
Hmm.
I just done. Wasn't using any of my degrees. Not enough. Anyway, not in my eyes.
Yeah, with what I'm doing, I just like this. Just went into it just to do something different. And
What do
now-
you do with the...
Boilers and chillers.
That's right, you did say that.
So yeah, basically now I'm going for a supervisor position after 8 years of coming from nothing to running the plant.
Nice. And I was blue collar right out of high school. Like I was a welder.
Okay. Yeah, I can do office work with a grain of salt. If I sit there way too long, fuck, I'm like falling asleep on the desk.
Just depends on the work.
Yeah.
There's some work where I'm like, God, like I just did an investigation. Like it was heavy enough for the time that I spent there, but when I do an investigation, I literally go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. And I try not to. I mean, this was a private case, so I didn't have like research to do. because it was all their family members that were trying to come through. But if I go to, say, this museum and I recorded shit in there for 2 hours, that's going to be at least 8 to 10 hours worth of media, which is going to take me probably close to 40 to fine-tooth comb it. And that's just one case. And then I got to write the blog about it. Then I got to put the podcast out about it, and whether it's haunted or not. So that's just, there's a whole lot that goes into it. I'm on all those socials, so I make my own TikTok videos. You know what I mean? And I do all that from scratch. You got something?
I don't know, because I'm thinking it's just that brick square. Then you get the cement wall, which is all cold, but then you get the brick section.
Well, let's test it. Let's get closer.
That's hot.
Just keep an eye on it. You're not getting much at all. You getting anything?
No, not really. It keeps skipping over stuff. It's like it'll just start to say something and then it'll like skip right through, like it's being pushed through.
I got nothing going on here. You did hear, you heard not guilty right after I got the word judge.
But like very, very little. It's almost as if they're pushing it where they're not wanting anything to come through. I don't know.
Is it the brick wall?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's that
The brick-
window, that bricked-in window.
You might want to get a closer look at those earthquake bolts since you were so interested in them. They actually curve off the building because they're that crude. You gotta remember, they were put there. The earthquake was in 1886. I want to say those were put there in 1893.
So those are just bolted to the wall, or they go straight through?
There's a turnbuckle in the roof.
So it goes straight
And it
straight
looks
through.
just like that on the other side.
Okay.
So if we do have an earthquake, there is a bolt in the center, and they just get a giant wrench
And
and tighten it up.
tighten it.
No better time.
There's actually earthquake bolts.
That's
if you notice.
weird.
This one is interesting because the apartment building behind it actually has earthquake bolts on all four sides. So that means that they are actually center crosshair underneath the
I
floorboards.
see those two and all that. That's kind of weird. This wall keeps going cold and hot.
There's also sand underneath those shingles up there because they held gunpowder. So if we got hit with a cannonball and exploded, the sand was designed to go up in the
On
air
my
because the
own.
wall's 4 foot thick. So the sand would go up and then fall to put out the fire from the gunpowder. That doesn't work either. We had another powder magazine close to the battery, like towards the tip of the peninsula, and it did get hit because it was closer to the water, and the sand went up, but the building burned to the ground.
Nice.
My children
I got the
Children?
word bed. And then ask her.
putting it together.
We will get a lot of female terms here, like that ask her, female gender term. The woman dressed as a man.
George.
George. Who the hell's George?
90 G5.
George. What was that phrase she said, putting it together?
Yeah, 90 G5, George. I don't know about putting it together.
Of
Yeah.
them all.
It's kind of vague. I got a whole lot of nothing going on here, except for that judge piece coming through. And that could be a number of things. 2 different judges that are relevant to this area. There's a house on the other side of the powder magazine. We call it the Nicholas Trott House. He was the first Chief Justice.
Okay.
So every once in a while, my name will show up.
Your name?
Yeah, my name's Nick. His name is Nicholas.
Okay.
So we'll get Nick or Nicholas. My full name is Nicholas. But there is another
Kelly
Nick.
Rose.
There's a Rose. There's Bleed Over from Philadelphia Alley. But the judge for Anne Bonny's trial was Nicholas Laws. So there's 3 Nicks that are relevant here. That's why I always need a fucking second clue. Dr. Ladd, you got 1 minute to give us something, or Anne Bonny. We're gonna wrap this one up quick because you guys aren't giving us much.
Replacement.
I got doctrine. Some more doctor stuff. It makes sense with the Kelly Rose. I'll explain that when she takes
Wrong
me.
with you.
Guess what our next birthday gift is gonna be? It's gonna be a freaking spirit box. Better give us one more. Come on, Doc. Last chance. Or Ann. Still at the same time. Nothing. Okay. Let's call it.